Hey there. Ready to dive into something? I think we all deal with negativity. It's like that uninvited guest who just never wants to leave.
Yeah,
But what if we could, you know, learn to manage those negative vibes instead of letting them kind of run the show?
precisely.
So that's where this Power of Positivity article, 7 Steps to Let Go of Negativity, comes in.
Okay.
And it's packed with, I think, some really practical tips.
Yes.
And I'm excited to unpack it all with you today.
Yeah, me too. Let's start with that first step,
Right.
which kind of seems counterintuitive. Acknowledging the negativity.
Right.
Have you ever noticed, like, when you try to ignore those negative feelings, sometimes they just kind of get louder?
Totally. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It
Exactly.
just pops up somewhere else.
It does. And acknowledging those feelings is about creating space for them without letting them take over.
Okay.
And the article mentions this technique called name it to tame it.
Okay.
And it's about, like, actually labeling the emotion that you're feeling.
So instead of getting swept away by, anxiety, you'd say to yourself, okay, this is anxiety. Does that actually help?
It does. There's some pretty fascinating neuroscience behind it because when you actually label an emotion, you activate your prefrontal cortex, which is like that part of the brain that's responsible for reasoning and self-control.
Oh.
And at the same time, you're actually calming down the amygdala, which is like the brain's fear center.
Oh, wow. So it's like you're giving your brain a little coaching session.
Exactly. And another technique they highlight is the reality self-check.
Okay.
This one's all about questioning those negative thoughts.
So when that inner critic starts whispering hey, you're not good enough, you'd ask yourself, is that actually true?
Right, because so often our negative thoughts are based on like these assumptions and these fears, not facts.
Yeah,
So this self-check helps us to see things a little more objectively.
I like that.
Yeah.
This leads us to step 2 in the article, which is understanding the source of your negativity. And I love this because it gets interesting.
Yeah.
The article digs deeper than just, everyday stressors.
It does. It explores how like our past experiences, especially those from childhood, can actually shape those negativity patterns.
Okay.
Like, let's just say you grew up in a family where like achievement was just constantly emphasized.
Hmm.
You might end up with this feeling of like, I'm never good enough, even if like you're objectively successful.
Totally. It's like carrying around this invisible measuring stick from your childhood.
Exactly.
But the article also points to, present day sources of negativity as well, right?
Right.
Like, that never-ending to-do list or that pressure from social media.
Absolutely. It's important to recognize those external factors that might be contributing to our negative feelings.
So it's not always about some deep-seated issue. Sometimes it's just about recognizing that you're pushing yourself too hard or comparing yourself to these unrealistic standards.
Precisely. And once you actually understand the source of your negativity, you can start to address it in a more targeted way.
Okay, let's move on to step 3, which is practicing mindfulness.
All right.
Now, I've heard a lot about mindfulness, but I'm always curious, how does simply paying attention to the present moment actually help with negativity?
Well, have you ever noticed how negativity often pulls us out of the present moment? We get caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past.
Yeah, all the time.
And mindfulness is about gently bringing your attention back to the here and now.
Okay.
It's about noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Just kind of watching those clouds drift by.
And the article talks about some pretty cool techniques for practicing mindfulness too, right? Like mindful breathing.
Yes, mindful breathing is a great way to kind of ground yourself in the present moment.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths and just focusing on the sensation of your breath, like entering and leaving your body.
And they also talk about incorporating mindfulness into everyday activities like washing the dishes or taking a walk.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you ever noticed how your mind tends to wander when you're doing these routine tasks?
Oh, absolutely. I'm often thinking about a million other things while I'm washing dishes.
Right. By bringing your full attention to the task at hand, and engage all your senses, you kind of turn it into a mindfulness exercise.
So instead of thinking about tomorrow's deadline while I'm doing the dishes, I'd focus on the feeling of the warm water on my hands, the scent of the dish soap.
Exactly. It's about bringing yourself back to the present moment, even in the midst of ordinary activities.
I like that. And one technique that really stood out to me was mindful listening. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Mindful listening is about being fully present in a conversation.
Oh.
Instead of just waiting for your turn to speak or thinking about what you're going to say next, you actually really tune in to what the other person is saying.
So it's about quieting that inner chatter and truly absorbing what the other person is communicating.
Precisely. And it's amazing how much this simple shift can actually enhance your connections, and reduce negativity. When you're truly listening, you're less likely to get caught up in your own judgments or assumptions.
Okay, so we've acknowledged our negativity,
Mhm.
explored its roots, started to cultivate mindfulness.
Right.
Where do we go from here?
Well, the next step is all about shifting our perspective.
Okay.
Ready to reframe those negative thoughts.
Reframing negative thoughts sounds like we're about to do some mental gymnastics.
You could say that, but it's more about, gently nudging our thoughts in a more positive direction.
So instead of saying, I can't do this, you would say, I'm doing the best that I can.
Exactly. It's about, acknowledging your effort and focusing on what you can control.
Right.
The article gives some really great examples of reframing those common negative thoughts.
Yeah, what about those positive affirmations that everyone's always talking about? Do those actually work?
They get kind of bad rap sometimes,
Yeah.
but there's actually some interesting research to back them up.
Really?
Well, think about it. Our brains are actually wired to focus on the negative. It's a survival mechanism, like from our caveman days.
Makes sense. You'd want to be aware of those saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. But in our modern world, that negativity bias can work against us.
Yeah.
Affirmations help to counteract that by intentionally feeding our minds positive messages.
So it's like rewiring our brains for positivity.
It is, and the more we repeat those affirmations, the more we strengthen those positive neural pathways.
The articles suggest some good ones, like, I am worthy of respect and acceptance.
Right.
I can get behind that one.
It's about choosing affirmations that resonate with you and repeating them consistently,
Hmm.
especially when you notice those negative thoughts kind of creeping in.
I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah.
Okay, on to step 5, cultivate positivity.
All right.
Now this sounds more my speed.
It's about actively seeking out joy and bringing more light into your life.
The article talks about surrounding yourself with positive people, doing activities that you love.
Right.
Those sound like no-brainers to me, but they also mention gratitude, which I think we often take for granted.
Gratitude is a powerful antidote to negativity. When we focus on what we're grateful for, it shifts our perspective away from what's missing or wrong.
And one way to cultivate gratitude is through journaling. Right.
Exactly. Taking a few minutes each day to write down what you're grateful for can have a profound impact on your outlook.
So even on those tough days, you can always find something to be grateful for, whether it's a warm cup of coffee or a supportive friend.
It's about training your brain to notice and appreciate the good, even amidst the challenges.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, on to step 6, set realistic goals. This seems like a little bit of a shift from the previous steps.
It might seem that way, but setting goals can actually be a powerful way to boost your self-confidence and motivation.
So instead of feeling stuck in that negativity, you're channeling your energy towards something positive.
Exactly. And the article emphasizes the importance of setting SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
I've heard that acronym before, but can you break it down for us?
Sure, let's say you want to be more active. Instead of just saying, I want to exercise more, a SMART goal would be, I will go for a 30-minute walk 3 times a week for the next month.
So you're making it like concrete and actionable.
Exactly. You've got a clear action plan, a way to measure your progress, and a time frame to keep you motivated.
And achieving those goals, no matter how small, can help to build momentum and a sense of accomplishment.
It's about proving to yourself that you're capable of making those positive changes in your life.
And finally, we come to step 7, seek support. This feels especially important because negativity can be so isolating.
It can, and the article reminds us that we don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
Reaching out to friends, family, or a therapist can make a world of difference.
It's like having a cheering squad in your corner, reminding you of your strength and your resilience.
And sometimes simply talking about what you're going through can help to just lighten the load.
Have you ever noticed how just like voicing those negative thoughts out loud can make them feel less overwhelming?
It's like you're releasing some of that pent-up energy.
Yeah.
And a supportive listener can offer perspective encouragement or even just a listening ear.
And if you're really struggling, a therapist can provide, tools and strategies to help you navigate those negative thoughts and emotions.
They can also help you identify any underlying issues that might be contributing to your negativity.
So this step really highlights the power of connection and community in overcoming negativity.
It does. We humans are wired for connection, and we thrive when we feel supported and understood.
So we've covered all 7 steps before we wrap up. I want to go back to something you said earlier about understanding the source of our negativity.
Okay.
I think that's such a key takeaway.
It is, because if we can identify the root of the problem, we can address it more effectively.
It's like that saying, the only way out is through. Instead of resisting those negative feelings, we can try to understand what they're trying to tell us.
Exactly. Like, for example, if you're constantly feeling overwhelmed at work, maybe it's a sign that you need to set some better boundaries or delegate some tasks.
Or if you're feeling, lonely and disconnected, maybe it's a nudge to prioritize your relationships or join a new social group.
It's about seeing negativity not as an enemy, but as a messenger.
Mm.
It's a signal that something needs to change.
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? How can you apply these 7 steps to your own life?
Well, the beauty of these steps is that they're so adaptable, you don't have to do them all at once or in any particular order. Just start with what resonates with you.
Maybe you start with a simple gratitude practice.
Yeah.
Or perhaps you experiment with name it to tame it the next time you feel that anxiety bubbling up.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
There will be days when that negativity feels stronger.
Yeah.
The key is to keep practicing, keep experimenting, and keep coming back to these steps as guideposts.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. It's a journey of self-discovery and growth. And as you move through this journey, you might find that certain steps resonate with you more than others. We're all unique individuals, and what works for one person might not work for another.
So it's about listening to your intuition and finding what feels right for you.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to adapt these steps to fit your own personality and circumstances.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on negativity.
Me too. And I hope our listener feels empowered to transform their own relationship with negativity.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
We've talked about reframing negative thoughts. But what about those negative experiences that we can't just simply reframe? Those painful events that have left a mark on us.
That's a profound question. And it's true, sometimes life throws us curveballs that we can't simply think our way out of.
But even in those situations, is there something to be learned? Can we find meaning or growth even in the midst of pain?
I believe we can. It's about finding the resilience to move through those experiences, to integrate them into our life story, and to emerge stronger on the other side.
It's about recognizing that our struggles don't define us, but they can shape us.
Yeah.
They can teach us valuable lessons about ourselves, about our relationships, and about the world around us.
And as we learn and grow from those experiences, we develop this deeper sense of empathy, compassion, and wisdom.
So, dear listener, I invite you to reflect on this. What have your negative experiences taught you? What strengths have emerged from those challenges?
And how can you use those lessons to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into letting go of negativity.
Yes.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering.
Until next time, remember that you have the strength and the resilience to navigate life's challenges.
Right.
And to create a life filled with joy, purpose, and meaning.